useless. There are certain things that are not necessary to see. For example, cleaning the whiteboard before you start writing again. This is a waste of time. To achieve this, highlight the relevant clip in the timeline and use the scissors to cut the clip directly before and after you've cleaned the whiteboard. Select the clip that you don't want to be seen and press delete. The video stream now looks like this. Jumping from a full screen of writing to a completely clean screen might seem a little abrupt. We can easily add production value to our online lessons by using the transition function. In this first example, I'm just going to go to the transitions and drag the crossfade transition between my two clips. The result is a smooth effect that dissolves one clip into the next. This is what it looks like. If you'd like to experiment with different transitions, you can go to the drop down where it says My Favorites, select All, and I'm going to choose the barn door transition by dragging it on top of the existing transition. And this is the effect the barn door transition gives you. We can use this cropping technique to have things appear instantaneously on the screen, like these numbered bullet points, for instance. This particular bit of footage has been reduced from 40 seconds to 12 seconds just by implementing these techniques. We can use this editing technique to make pictures or even words come on the screen in a more creative way. Again, to achieve this effect, simply edit out the footage where you placed it on the screen. And of course you can blend all this by combining pictures, arrows, etc., and writing presented at fast forward speed, depending on how you want to present your lessons. The speed at which writing is presented in an online lesson can make a huge difference to student engagement. Writing presented in real time, especially when you're trying to do it neatly, can be very boring to watch. Okay, you get the idea. Ideally, we want to present the written word at a similar speed to reading it. So how do we fast forward text? Select the clip you want to compress. It will go yellow around the edges. If you move to the right of the clip, this black arrow appears. This is not what we want. This will crop the clip. We want to compress it. If you hold Shift down and move to the right hand side of the clip, you'll see the arrow becomes white. This will allow us to compress, so just hold Shift and drag the clip to where you want to compress it to. Normally about 200% is a good starting point. 200% means you're doubling the speed of your writing. Avoid just placing large blocks of text on the screen instantaneously. Some students may consider them as pictures and not actively read the text. Backgrounds can play an important part in the level of student engagement relating to the text you're presenting. When filming a whiteboard, zoom in to get rid of all the distractions. Working on A4 refill paper, provides a very authentic background. However, in proportion, your hand is very large compared with the area you have to present on. One solution to this is to draw lines on a piece of A3 paper to give it the appearance of A4 refill. This is a very poor example of how to incorporate PowerPoint and likely to disengage students. Let's try and improve the presentation using the same content. The title should come on at reading speed. Make the background interesting, we just did that. Avoid presenting pages full of text. Involve as much relevant movement as possible. Narration should be in time with movement. And include interesting transitions, like this one. Same rules apply for a more technical presentation. For example, it's not quite as helpful to have graphs pop up on the screen. It's probably more useful to use it as a learning tool where you're identifying the supply axis, the demand axis, and the relationship between the two. Also, you can animate movement to help emphasize a point. So, how do we achieve this? There's a couple of options. Let's look at them. Go to the Insert tab, choose Table, and go down to Insert Table. Choose number of columns 1 and number of rows 12. In the Table Design option, scroll up to the top and to the far left and choose that option. Highlight the table, choose the Borders drop-down menu and choose Inside Horizontal Borders. Move the table up to the top left and stretch it so it fills the whole page. To make it look more like refill, we'll get rid of this line here by highlighting over it, going back to Borders and pressing Horizontal Border. We'll also put a line running down the left hand side so it looks more like refill too. If I press Shift while I'm doing that, it helps keep the line perfectly vertical. I'm going to drag the line slightly to the right so it looks more in proportion. Also, I'm going to change the line color to red, highlighting on it and changing the color like this. To finish it off, it works well to put a couple of circles in to make it look even more like refill. Just place the circle where you think it should be. Scroll in and change the color to maybe a dark grey, and also the outline to black, and change the weight to a thinner line, and just reproduce that circle lower down in the page. This is what it should look like when it's finished. Alternatively, you can scan an actual bit of refill and paste it onto your PowerPoint as a background. This is what scanned refill looks like. And of course you can do this with any kind of paper, for example squared math paper. And this is the result of squared paper. When blocks of text appear instantaneously like this, we're not optimizing potential engagement. Let's take a look at one way of improving the presentation of this sentence. We're going to place each sentence separately on the screen. Start by selecting text box, draw the box roughly where you want it, and type in what you want in the box. Choose a font that you think will work well for your purpose. Make any changes, for example, the size, perhaps making it bold, and with this particular font, which is Bradley Hand, I'm going to place an extra spacing between the words to make it easier to read. I'm also going to move the text box slightly so it's sitting nicely on the background refill line. I'm going to add the wipe animation to make it look like it's flowing like handwriting. Wipe defaults from the bottom to the top initially, so use effect options to go from left to right to simulate handwriting. Click on the animation pane to be able to preview your work. You'll notice it appears far faster than reading speed. Adjust the speed by stretching the box which represents the time taken for the writing to appear. 2 seconds is a reasonable estimate for a short sentence like this. Let's check it. Making the writing as engaging as possible. That was a little bit fast, so I'm going to stretch it to 2.5 seconds. Making the writing as engaging as possible. Let's press F5 and check the final result. Hopefully this video stream has given you some ideas about the possibilities when presenting the written word in an online context. I'm sure that when you start producing your own videos, you'll take these basic ideas and develop them much further.